collecting the fines and enforcing the violations the Adams administration has spent 4 years ignoring. Everybody says housing's a human right. Let's start acting like it.
I like this video, actually. This is a great video. Copy this link. I'm going to send this link as well. See? I'm doing my support for New York City. Where are you? Where is your support? I like this. This is fantastic. If anything, this is just... Okay, let's watch this. Supporting home workers and ending deed theft. What the hell is this?
We are going to do a number of things to make it easier to buy a home in this city and to keep that home. First and foremost, we are going to create the Office of Deed Theft Prevention, in tandem with ensuring that we finally address a broken and inequitable property tax system. And finally, to make it easier to actually purchase a home in this city.
This is a very important issue, especially here in Brooklyn. 3,500 people have made complaints to 311 for deed theft services or support. Of those, less than 29 have been prosecuted. 29. There are no services for homeowners in the city of New York.
And within this community, we saw the largest displacement of Black people over the past 10 years than any other community in New York City. A reason for that is deed theft, is rising property taxes, is rising rents, and it's gone under the leadership of both Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams, who have ignored this issue for years and years and years.
I believe it.
Zohran Mamdani is the first candidate in this race to come out with a robust plan to tackle these issues. So if you want deed theft to end, if you want your property taxes to stabilize, if you want to stay in your home, vote for Assemblymember Zohran Mamdani for mayor.
For mayor. Of safety. Department of Community Safety. That's it.
Every New Yorker deserves to be safe, and today I'm announcing a plan to deliver exactly that. Public safety is created by stable homes, good-paying work, and well-resourced neighborhoods. Addressing these issues are at the core of our campaign. But we must also aggressively pursue evidence-based strategies that prevent violence and crime before they occur. I will create a Department of Community Safety, the DCS. This new agency will coordinate a whole-of-government approach to protect New Yorkers like never before. We will invest in citywide mental health outreach and crisis response, expand gun violence prevention programs, address hate, and tackle homelessness. The DCS will make public transit safer, placing dedicated outreach workers in our subway stations, transforming vacant commercial units to provide medical services and connections to long-term care, and investing in transit ambassadors to assist New Yorkers on their journeys. There will be visible, trained teams in our subways. Their presence and their work will make all of us safer. Police have a critical role.
I gotta give it to Zohran. Anyways, I'm gonna give it to him. He has really good strategy. Everything looks nice. Everything looks really clean. It's just a really good job.
To play. But right now, we're relying on them to deal with the failures of our social safety net, which is preventing them from doing their actual jobs. It's one of the reasons so many crimes are left unresolved. New Yorkers deserve a leader that treats public safety with the seriousness it deserves. I invite you to learn more about the Department of Community Safety.
I just love his color scheme.
ZohranForNYC.com.
We should use that color scheme. I'm going to steal your color scheme. Okay, let's keep watching. Next, affordability. City-owned grocery stores. Oh yeah, I'm actually curious to see about what this actually is. Let's have a look.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed.
Yes,
some stores
true.
are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zohran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you. They'll partner with small businesses and nearby farms and sell at wholesale prices. The job of city government isn't to tinker around the edges while 1 in 4 children across our city go hungry.
Okay. I mean, that's probably one of the worst of the videos. If I was going to give any advice to Zohran, you need to go out there, mate, and fix these videos. It's not very good. Okay. Fast, fare, free buses. Our plan to make buses free will save 36 million hours every year and generate 1.5 billion economic benefits. Without fare collections and with all... Okay. 105 New Yorkers struggle to afford the fare. I mean, that's alright. Fight corporate. Okay, let's see. No cost childcare. Let's see what this is.
The best way to keep families in New York City is to make it cheaper to raise one here. That's why since the beginning of this campaign, I've championed universal childcare, making a commitment to deliver it to New Yorkers with children as young as 6 weeks to 5 years of age. Here are some staggering statistics that show why this is such an urgent fight. First, more than 80% of families with children under 5 cannot afford childcare in New York City.
Damn.
Second, this also has a major cost to our economy. The lack of universal childcare has cost our city's economy more than $20 billion in the last few years alone. My administration will address this crisis by providing no-cost childcare to families with children as young as 6 weeks up until they're 5 years of age. To do this, we'll open more centers, using city space to open more centers, co-locating within the DOE wherever possible, subsidizing commercial rent, and easing the regulatory burden to make it easier to get permits. We will also make sure that all early childhood educators get paid a living wage, on par with DOE.
Why is he whispering for?
And we'll ensure that existing childcare providers have the resources they need to stay open, including streamlining the process so childhood centers are fully paid by the city and paid on time. We will also subsidize childcare at home for families who prefer to have a trusted neighbor or relative take care of their child.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool. That last bit, yeah, that was actually not bad. I kind of respect that. Baby baskets for New York newborns. Each year there are 125,000 New York's born, but cost of living is blah, building on the success of 90% programs. What's it called? A baby basket? Discussed? What is this? Okay. We can't listen to this on the show. I wanted to listen to the basket thing. Okay, K-12. Not sure what that is. Paying for our agenda. Okay, so it will help. How will pay for our vision? Okay, how? We'll raise $10 billion from taxing the wealthiest New Yorkers and smart governance. Okay, well, I'm not sure how they're going to feel about that. Are they? They're going to like that? They're not going to like that. That doesn't seem very realistic. $10 billion in additional revenue would be nearly 9% of the current total budget. Taxing a big business. New York's top corporate rate is just 7.25%, which is lower than all our bordering neighborhoods. We'll champion an increase to 11.5%, the same rate as New Jersey. Last, they want to copy New Jersey, eh? I never hear that. A New Yorker wants to copy the New Jerseys. Taxing the 1% for the 99%. The top 1% in New York will make over $1 million in a year, but are taxed essentially the same rates as every New Yorker, 3.9%. We'll push to levy a new 2% tax on all incoming over $1 million. Common sense procurement reform. The city enters into more than $30 billion in contracts every year, but with a slow and understaffed process, there are fewer bidders and less competition. Reforming the procurement system to lower costs by even 1% would make a big difference. Raise $300 million a year. Okay, well, Trump is attacking our city. We need a mayor who will stand up for the New Yorkers and protect our social safety net and public infrastructure and federal assault. Okay. Interesting. Oh, climate. Greening New York City. Oh yeah, green schools. What's this? The Nation. Zone tackles climate change at New York City cost of living crisis. The mayoral hopeful green school plan will renovate 500 public schools, build 500 green squares, and turn 50 schools into resilience hubs. Not bad. LGBTQIA+. Fucking how many letters are they putting in there? Is there any more? Delivering care opportunity and protection for LGBTQIA New York followers. Okay. LGBTQIA+ New Yorkers are facing Trump attacks and great impacts from the cost of living crisis. Here's Zohran's plan to protect them. Expanding the protection gender affirming care. What does that mean? Zohran will make sure every New Yorker has access to medical treatment they need, immediately investing. Okay, that's concerning already. Concerning. making New York City an LGBTQI sanctuary city. No one should face persecution or be denied care on the basis of their identity. Zohran will strengthen and uphold the rights of queer and trans New Yorkers through multiple sanctuary protections. Okay, creating the New York City Office of LGBTQ Affairs. While Eric Adams left one person to manage all blah 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 city programs, Zohran will expand and centralize the services, program support, blah blah blah, need across housing, employment, and more. Look at these degenerates. Sorry, I'm just like a bit triggered by this. Healthcare, labor, raising. Is any more? No, it's all. Raise the wage, $30 an hour by 20. I mean, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, $30 an hour is a lot of money. In Australia, what's like $50 an hour? That's freaking a lot. 1.3 million New Yorkers don't make enough to meet their basic needs. The minimum wage is too low. According to MIT's living wage calculator, a single adult with no children needs to earn $28.04 an hour to get by in the New York City metro area. It's even higher for families. If the minimum wage match increases in worker productivity over the past decades, it would hit $28.35 an hour next year. But when wages don't keep up, the surplus still has to go somewhere. Record profits for the wealthiest corporation. A minimum wage that below that true cost of living means government services have to make up for the difference. Our public tax dollars subsidize low wages employees, as Mayor's will work with City Council to pass a new minimum wage that will reach $30 an hour by 2030. So in 5 years, $30 an hour. I mean, that is pretty reasonable, to be fair. Let's see it. Small businesses. Oh yeah, I'm keen to actually hear about this.
There's a lot of things that make New York City special. For me, it's the delis and bodegas. Habibi, could I get an egg and cheese on a roll with jalapeno?
One Zohran special coming up.
Small businesses employ nearly half of all New Yorkers in the private sector. They keep the city running, but the last 4 years have been hard. We've seen the dollar slice go extinct, storefront after storefront close, and had a mayor in Eric Adams who has ignored the struggles of small businesses. That's why as mayor, I'm going to make it faster, easier, and cheaper for small businesses to get started and stay open. First, we're going to cut fines and fees for small businesses by 50%. Regulations are important, but small businesses have to navigate more than 6,000 of them, with far fewer resources than the big chains. That's why as mayor, I'll appoint a mom and pop czar with the clear goal of making it easier to run a small business. $1,000 isn't a lot to our city government, but it can be make or break for a small business trying to get off the ground. Next, we're going to accelerate permits and applications. The mom and pop czar will coordinate with agencies to speed up turnaround times, cut red tape, and let New Yorkers start businesses sooner. Because you shouldn't have to fill out 24 forms and go through 7 agencies to start a barbershop. But most of all, we're putting our money where our mouth is. By increasing funding for small business support
Why couldn't you just keep this
500%.
stuff?
We're going to invest $20 million in our Business Express service teams, which pay 500%. We're going
Got some dandruff in his hair,
to
mate.
invest $20 million in our Business Express service teams,
like
which pair small businesses with a city case manager that helps them navigate permits and regulations, as well as connecting them with programs that provide them with financial and legal assistance. Right now, only 3% of businesses are using these programs. We want that number to skyrocket. The only thing more New York than an egg and cheese are the small businesses that make them. Together, we can not only protect them, but encourage new ones to make a home in our city.
I do like that. Was a good video. I prefer these. I prefer that video style. Libraries, Trump proofing New York City. Donald Trump is tearing at the fabric of New York City in his second term. He's already developed ice agents to pluck New Yorkers from fair families. He already sent their high price skyrocketing with tariffs, and he's threatened vital social services that workers in New York rely on every day. Zohran will fight Trump's attempts to gouge the working class and deliver a city where everyone can afford dignified life. He will ensure immigrant New Yorkers are protected by strengthening our sanctuary city apparatus, getting ICE out of the city's facilities, and ending any corporation, increasing legal support, and protecting all personal data. He'll make New York City an LGBTQI sanctuary city and protect reproductive rights. That's not very Muslim of him, is it? That's not very Muslim. Hey, what's up? Oh, Henry! What's up, bro? Oh, I'm literally watching this for you. I'm literally doing a study right now. So, did you see my chat? This is what I've been watching. I'll just show you. 1 second, Henry. I'll just show you here. Wait, are you still here? I'm in the USA. Perfect. All right, this is perfect then. Watch this. This is the guy this guy's running for mayor in New York City. So I wanted to show you his video. Watch this.
New York Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury.
Every politician says, New York is the
Greatest city on the globe.
But what good is that if no one can afford to live here? City Hall is engulfed in corruption.
Unscientific report.
The cost of living is the real crisis. New Yorkers are being crushed by rent and childcare. The slowest buses in the nation are robbing us of our time and our sanity. Working people are being pushed out of the city they built. A mayor could change this, and that's why I'm running. I'll make buses fast and free.
So I can just get where I'm going.
I'll make childcare available to all New Yorkers at no cost.
I really
want
like
to
this
raise
video.
my kid in New York.
And I'll freeze the rent for every single rent-stabilized tenant.
These Eric Adams rent hikes are killing us.
Life in this city doesn't need to be this hard. But politicians like Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo want it to be this way. They care about their donors.
Yeah,
they care about themselves. They don't care about you, the working class.
This is literally the Henry Davies of New York, but he's going for mayor. So he's just won his primary. So he actually might win. He actually might become this might be the next mayor of New York. He's 31 years old. No, 33. He's 33 years old. So similar age to you as well, Henry. So this is what This is what I've been studying all night, because when you get back, I want to You think he'll win? He has a good chance. He has a good chance.
City running. This campaign is for every New Yorker who believes in the dignity of their neighbors. And the government's job is to actually make our lives better. We can afford to bring down the rent, have world-class public transit, and make it easier to raise a family. We can do all of that and so much more, because this is New York. We can afford to dream.
I love this part. That's a great shot. We need to get better equipment, dude. But look how cool his logo is as well. I'm saying, dude, we need to... Yeah, this is his channel. What's this? This is when he won. We should watch this.
1 week ago, we shocked the establishment and redrew the political map with a campaign relentlessly focused on the needs of working people. Since then, a lot of people have asked...
By the way, he's a social democrat, so... I mean, you'd have some... I mean, I'm trying to remove my personal bias. I'm not here to, put my own bias on what I want. I like what this guy's doing. Do I agree with most of the stuff he says? No. But do I like the way he presents? Do I like the way he looks? The way he studies and the way he talks? The way he edits? Everything he's doing is the future platform for Australian politics. If you, Henry, could be the first person to take this formula and bring it to Australia, and this is why it's important for me to do this study. If we could bring this to Australia and you can launch off this, you'll be unstoppable. Because this is a really good winning formula, even though he's going a bit extreme in some aspects, potentially.
If I was
Yeah, he is a communist. Yeah, he's straight up a communist. Yeah.
surprised by the results.
But I'm saying remove the part of the communist part, plug in your stuff, and observe it through an artistic lens of what's possible, politically speaking, minus the actual political agenda. We can replace your agenda into plug it into what you want to do.
In some ways, I was. We always thought our victory would come after multiple rounds of ranked choice voting. So when we got more first-round votes than Eric Adams got in 7 rounds in the last election, it was astonishing. But in other ways, this was all...
He had 50, just to give you perspective, he had 50,000 people volunteer for his campaign, Henry. 50,000 boots on the ground.
Always the plan. We wanted to rebuild a coalition that had frayed over years of disappointment and neglect, to win people back to a Democratic Party that puts working people first. So let's break it down. Last November, New York City saw some of the biggest shifts towards Donald Trump of anywhere in the country. Much of it took place in working class and immigrant neighborhoods. A few days after the election, we went to Hillside Avenue in Queens and Fordham Road in the Bronx, not to lecture, but to listen. And what we heard was a desire to bring down the cost of living. That was our focus, and many of those voters came back. Brighton Beach went for Trump by 44 points. Last week, we won it by 16. College Point was a +11 Trump neighborhood.
That's interesting.
We took it by 8 points. We saw similar or even bigger swings in Bath Beach.
He got 10. I thought that was heaps. Yeah. This guy's social media campaign went off though, and he put a lot of effort into him. But they were doing full-time work. His videographer guy, he has social media guy. His social media guy just basically had full you go ahead and do this. So it's actually the perfect time, Henry, because I've got my work pretty down pat. Like I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm executing my work. Like I'm so happy with everything I'm doing. So we should really start putting some love and energy into what you're doing and build your campaign. Like I want to like properly. Like I don't want to. I need it to be at this level. This is the level I want you to be at. I can't. But we need to just really get to this stuff.
Astoria Heights, and the North Shore of Staten Island. The headline is clear. We can win back voters many have written off if we give them something to vote for, not just tell them what to be against. When Eric Adams eked out a win by 7,000 votes 4 years ago, he called it a mandate and pronounced himself the new face of the Democratic Party. Even then, it was a little ridiculous. But in some neighborhoods, he did put up impressive margins. Take Flatbush, for example. Eric Adams dominated there, double digits ahead of his next rival. On Tuesday, there was also a double-digit victory, except it was for us, over Andrew Cuomo. We flipped Crown Heights by 45 points, North Corona by 33, and Jamaica by a staggering 57 points.
Yeah.
These are the outer borough voters that Eric
impressive.
Adams said he'd bring with him to City Hall. He served as donors instead. Whether we're talking about...
You need a beard? I mean, I like beards. The vice president has a beard right now. I think beards are coming back, to be fair. I like my beard because it makes me look like a Greek god, but...
young voters, older voters, or just plain disaffected New Yorkers. No campaign in recent history has been as successful at driving new voter registrations, especially in the 100 days before the election. Just take a look at this graph. According to the Times, in the 14 days before the registration deadline, about 37,000 people registered to vote. That's over 10 times the number of new registrations over the same period of time in the 2021 mayoral primary. As a result, we won big with zero prime
Don't
voters,
be a hater,
New
bro.
Yorkers who had not voted in any recent mayoral primary. For instance, in Gravesend, at least 32% of all voters were first-time primary voters. Most campaigns focus
that's
on triple
interesting.
primes.
That's
New Yorkers
a
who voted in
huge
the last
uptake.
3 primaries. But this strategy ignores most of our city. Yet we knew that we could turn them out if they saw themselves in our policies. We ran a campaign that tried to talk to every New Yorker. Whether I could speak their language, आपकी वजह से हमने $8 million raise किया है. 6 लाख से ज़्यादा दरवाजे खटखटाए हैं. Or just tried.
See, look, he's doing what you're doing, Henry. He's like trying to speak Indian, but if he obviously you can speak French, so you just have to import your aspect of it into the French part.
All the words are new. And the coalition that came out on Tuesday reflected the mosaic.
Bro, I gotta go into the land of capitalism, Disneyland. Wait, you're in Miami right now? I mean, you're in Florida. You're in Orlando. Where are you? I'll just sit here. I've been sick for the last 4 days, but I'll sit here and study for you, mate. Oh, you're in Cali. Wait, this is Disneyland in California? I thought Disneyland was in Orlando. I'm so confused. Well, tell me how I lost that. Thanks, bro. Well, have fun, dude. And I'm not trying to be a dickhead here. I actually am studying generally. I'm streaming and I'm also studying because yeah, I just feel like there's more we can be doing. Like I think we should really. When you come back, let's sit down together and go through this content together, like this guy's content, and see how we can implement it into our own strategies moving forward, because I really like the platform. It's one of the most successful social media platforms since 2008 Obama's platform. But he's a Democrat, so, I mean, yeah, it should be good. Say hello to everyone for me. I hope you have a lovely time. Be safe. And remember, you're in America now. People have guns. So if someone starts a fight, you run away. You don't fight back, Henry, okay? I lived there for many, many months. I learned how to survive there. It's a very different place. Kay just says hi. I hope she's doing well. I hope she feels better. And guys, make sure you try all the beautiful American food. The food is great. And don't drink the tap water there. Whatever you do, do not drink the tap water. Stick to bottled water and glass bottles if preferable. Not in Cali? Yeah, well, Cali you got the stoners and the homeless. And yeah, just be careful. That's all I'm saying is be careful. You're my number 1 top chatter. Thank you. Why? It's LA, bro. Nah. We drank many tap water. Okay, well, stop doing that. Stop drinking tap water there. Just don't drink the tap water, please. It does. I don't know how to. I don't want to explain it too much, but just get yourself bottled water. All right.
We won South Asian neighborhoods by huge margins in places like City Line,
Stay, dude.
Ozone Park, Jamaica Hills. We won Latino neighborhoods like Corona, Washington Heights, Pelham Bay, and Woodhaven. We won many of the same Chinese voters that turned out for Trump in Flushing, Chinatown, and Bensonhurst. And in the final months of the campaign, we narrowed Andrew Cuomo's once sizable lead with black voters, outright winning young black New Yorkers in neighborhoods like Harlem and Flatbush.
Wow.
Andrew Cuomo and his super PAC spent more than $31 million. That's about $87 per vote. We were focused
Wow,
on
that's a lot.
affordability,
How much
and
are
it
we
cost
spending?
us
How
only
many per vote?
19 bucks per vote. But what you did for us was worth so much more than what money could buy. The result? We shattered everyone's expectations, including our own. A Cuomo spokesperson put it best, saying they had not foreseen our ability to, quote, expand the electorate in such a way that no turnout model or poll was able to capture. Conventional wisdom says the left can only win low turnout elections. We rewrote the rule book by, get this, talking to New Yorkers. Politics in this city won't ever be the same, and it's all thanks to you. The next chapter begins today, New York.
I like this guy. I like him a lot. I don't like agree with his politics, but I like him. I mean, he's got good videos. Let's be honest. New Dawn for New York City. Where is it? What's this?
We have just begun our walk through the entirety of Manhattan. We're at Inwood Hill Park at the tip top. We're outside because New Yorkers deserve a mayor that they can see, they can hear, they can even yell at.
What shoes is he wearing?
Good, bro. Election's on Tuesday.
Yeah? Tuesday!
Thank you. Thank you, my brother. Hey, we're
Yeah, everybody contento, my friend.
Hola, mucho gusto. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
Yes, you know that. You know that.
Come on.
Only the greatness, you know what I'm saying?
When we launched this campaign on a cold October evening, few thought we could win. Thank you, my
Oh, he's
man.
wearing shirt. He's wearing sneakers. Okay. I thought that would be the
But I
sponsors.
always knew that we would build a campaign just like this. Just voted today. Just voted today.
Oh, nice.
Over 1 million
Damn, Shell, I'll
doors
be
knocked. More than 40,000 volunteers. You are the beating heart of this campaign.
Look at that, everyone's clapping him. Pretty impressive video.
You have climbed 6th-floor walk-ups and braved the pouring rain to canvass our city.
Wait, we both have canvas for you.
Can't wait to have you here.
You have shared our message with the very New Yorkers you've lived alongside for years, but never had the chance to meet. And make no mistake, this campaign is reaching every corner of the city.
Oh my gosh. I love volunteering for you. Thank you.
To everyone who pulls me aside to whisper with the best intentions, you have already won. I am sorry, but the days of moral victories are over. Because this is a campaign that is going to win on June 24th.
And they won.
And it's thanks to each and every one of you.
The big walk.
All right, where are we headed?
Wow. Impressive. This is very impressive stuff. Give me a second, guys. Let's go.
We stand on the verge of a victory that will resonate across the country and the world. Make no mistake, this victory will be historic not just because of who I am, a Muslim immigrant and a proud democratic socialist, but for what we will do. Make this city affordable for everyone.
Make this city affordable
Because
for
after
everyone.
this rally, as many of us sleep, millions of our neighbors will step out onto moonlit streets across our city. Nurses working the night shift will put on their scrubs
Yeah, a lot
and
of people
save
turned up.
lives. Office
Can't believe this
buildings
turnout's
will
so
be
big.
made new again as the midnight shift scrubs and polishes in the dark. And even more, New Yorkers will spend the entire night tirelessly working and return home carrying the burden that it still isn't enough. If New York truly is the city that never sleeps, we deserve a mayor
Does sleep though.
who fights for those of us who
Went there a
labor
lot and
at every
faces are closed all
single
the time.
hour of the day.
Yeah.
I will be that mayor. And I will be a mayor who doesn't bow down to corporate interests, doesn't take his orders from billionaires, and sure as hell doesn't let ICE steal our neighbors from their homes.
He protects the illegal immigrants.
There are no kings in America,
Do you understand?
whether that's Donald Trump, Andrew Cuomo, or the Republican billionaires who fund both of their campaigns.
All about
Because
these Democratic
this
billionaires.
is a campaign that is going to win on June 24th. And it's
He did win though.
thanks
I'll give it to him. He did win. Let's see. It's time to fight. What's this?
নিউ ইয়র্ক সিটির মেয়রের জন্য ডেমোক্রেটিক প্রাইমারিতে আমরা র‍্যাঙ্ক চয়েস ভোটের মাধ্যমে নির্বাচন করি।
Let's make this easier with মিষ্টি। তুমি কি একজনকে পছন্দ করছো? তোমার
I can't
পছন্দের
understand any of this.
5 জনকে র‍্যাঙ্ক করতে পারবা।
How many views
আপনার
did this
এক
get?
নম্বর পছন্দের ক্যান্ডিডেট জিততে না পারে
73,000
তাহলে এই
views.
ভোট
Damn.
পরের পছন্দের ক্যান্ডিডেটের কাছে চলে যাবে। তাই
I
24
didn't realize there was that
তারিখে
many Indians in New York. The crazy amount of Indians. What's this?
I just voted for me. And here's the thing. You can vote for you too. Because this race isn't about me. It isn't about Andrew Cuomo. It's about your future and your city. But if you're a young New Yorker, it's easy to feel like your voice doesn't matter. Politicians don't take you or your concerns seriously
I'm not a
because they don't
young
think
New
you'll
Yorker
vote.
anymore.
But listen up.
I'm
If
an
you're
old
under
man.
30, you weren't even alive the last time Andrew Cuomo lived in New York City. So if he thinks he's qualified to be your mayor, you're more than qualified to vote for me. Young people are already
That's
smashing
fine.
expectations
Oh,
with
that's
surging
right.
turnout.
Nice.
But if we want to defeat Andrew Cuomo and his MAGA billionaire donors, we need an earthquake. Because my platform of a rent freeze, fast and free buses, universal childcare, funded by taxes on the rich, could be the difference between you having to move to Jersey City and getting to stay in the 5 boroughs. Early voting runs through Sunday, election days on Tuesday, and you can go to zohranfornyc.com/poll site to find out where you can cast your ballot. So as they say, no standing, yes voting.
I like his videos a lot. To be honest, I don't like his stuff, but I like his videos. There's only more. It's a month ago. Yeah, this was a good one. What's this freezing event one? Oh, that's just a thing. With another language. Let's have this one.
I'm about to share 3 numbers that both scare and excite me. First, we're 2 months away from election day. That's it. Second, 50% of New Yorkers still have no idea who I am or what this movement is about. Right now, we're in 2nd place and quickly closing in on Andrew Cuomo. You know, this guy. We've surprised the political establishment.
Let's say sexually what?
Cuomo. You know, this
DOG says Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed 13 women.
guy. We've
I love it.
surprised
He
the
chose-
political establishment. People
he
told
chose
us
that
we would
one
never
of
break
all the ones.
5% in the polls. And the last one had us at more than 20. And a lot of that's thanks to you. Because the more people hear about our plans for a New York City that's affordable, the more they're on board. Who knew that policies like universal childcare, rent freeze, and taxes on mega corporations were popular? We did. We also know that to get to 51%, we have to share our vision with many more New Yorkers. Now here's the final number I wanted to share with you. 1 million. Our campaign needs to knock on more than
he's
a
using a
million
gimbal or
doors. We need your help to do it. Bring your friends, bring your family, bring that one neighbor of yours you can't stand, but you also know could not afford another rent hike. The finish line's in sight, like right over there. So head to Zohran for nyc.com/events and help us cross it.
I do like his color scheme. He's done a great job on the scheme.
The presumptive
We don't want your money, but we need time. Need your time. That was what I needed 8 months ago. Law of speech. Oh yeah, let's see what this is.
Listen, this city's gone to hell.
Why are you so negative? We have the greatest mayor, Eric Adams.
He's the most corrupt mayor we've ever had.
He works hard, he plays hard. And by the way, have you ever been to Turkey? It's great.
Here's my guy. I've given up the Bible. I'm reading the book by Andrew Cuomo. He knows how to make money. During COVID, he made $5 million and had his staff write the book.
On the backs of the poor old ladies in the nursing homes.
Stop with the nursing homes. Eric Adams raised the rent on 2 million people.
I don't see riffraffs on Broadway anymore.
We are the riffraff.
I'm not the riffraff.
Yeah, if you weren't in rent control, you'd be out of this
Rent
city.
stabilization. Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo gets into City Hall. He cleans up the city on day one.
Clean it up. People having mental breakdowns on the subways every day because he closed mental health facilities and hospitals.
Cuomo's in touch with the people.
Yeah, he likes to touch.
He's Italian. He even said it himself. You didn't touch your sandwich. Come on, eat up, will you?
I need something different.
Something different? You guys know New Yorkers have more of a choice than just Adams or Cuomo this election, right?
Who the f are you?
I'm Zohran Mamdani. I'm running to be the next mayor of New York City.
What have you ever done for anybody in New York City?
Okay, I have won more than $100 million in increased subway and bus service, reduced the fare hike, got a fare-free bus pilot, defeated a frack gas power plant here in Queens, and went on a 15-day hunger strike with taxi drivers to win more than $450 million in debt relief.
What about our rent?
We're gonna freeze the rent for every single
I didn't know he did
rent-stabilized
that.
tenant.
I didn't know he did a 15-day water fast. That's amazing.
Universal at no cost to New York families.
What about our groceries?
City-owned grocery stores with guaranteed lower prices. We're gonna take the price gouging out of produce.
Buses.
Fast and free for every New Yorker. Look, no matter what your questions are, we're gonna put working people first and make the city more affordable for everyone.
Well, this worker has a question.
Please.
I got a guy a construction worker drilling at 12 midnight.
Oh,
I
man,
drive a
you
cab.
so-
I have to get up at
Okay,
4 in the
he's
morning.
trying to hear this.
Well, he does because he's
I
running for
know
mayor.
it.
I get up at 4 in the morning. I can't go to sleep. How can I serve the city if I can't go to sleep? And
Who cares if you serve the city?
who cares?
The city
You know
will
what?
survive.
The little old
The
lady
city
that
will
goes to New
survive.
York.
Okay, I gotta give it to him. That was fantastic. I do like that. I do like that a lot. Okay, look. This guy knows what he's doing. Any more videos like that? I like these. I like these political videos. Hello. Okay. Yeah.
Every New Yorker deserves to be safe. And today
Oh, I
I'm
already said this
announcing a
one.
plan.
I saw that one already. What's this? Oh yeah, breaking the fast. What's this?
Eid
Oh, it's all
Mubarak.
Muslims.
I stand before you as we celebrate the end of Ramadan. We celebrate the end of our fast. And yet we know that for many, that hunger will continue. Whether it be the 500,000 children in our city who go to sleep hungry every night, or whether it be the children in Palestine, or in Sudan, or in Yemen, we know that hunger continues to be a reality for them. And yet we know that that hunger is a choice that others are making. And I am running for mayor of New York City to make it easier for families to raise their children here, where everyone has enough in their family, in their belly, in their life. And I stand before you as one of 1 million Muslims who call New York City their home. We have 200,000 of us registered as Democrats. But in the last election, do you know how many of us voted? 7%. Now, I will not blame anyone in our community for not voting because often it feels like there is not much to vote for. And we know that our community wants the same thing that every other community wants and deserves: equality and respect. But in this country, we cannot be given those things. We have to win those things. And the clearest ways that we win them is at the ballot box. And we stand here because we know that there are those, be they the disgraced current mayor or the disgraced former governor, who would like New Yorkers to think that they only have a choice between the past and the present. And we tell them they in fact have the choice of the future. A future that they can afford. So brothers and sisters, I need your help to let everyone in your life know that that opportunity is less than 3 months away. My name is Zohran Mamdani, and I'm honored to continue to fight for a city that working people can actually afford. Thank you so much.
Interesting. I need to quickly. This one.
We're so close to Election Day, but believe it or not, the hardest days of this race are yet to come. Because right now, Andrew Cuomo and his billionaire allies are spending millions of dollars to try and defeat our movement. Cuomo's super PAC has dumped $5 million in the last week alone, lying about me and my policies. And there's at least another $5 million coming. For the next 9 days, you won't be able to turn on your TV, check your mail, or even watch a YouTube video without seeing them. But if you look at the box at the bottom of those ads, you'll see who's bankrolling them. Billionaires and corporations. The same people who put Donald Trump back in the White House are now trying to elect Andrew Cuomo. They're spending all this money for a very simple reason. Corporations don't want to pay just a little bit more in taxes to make a better city for all of us. The landlord lobby knows I'm going to freeze your rent. And Trump's donors know I will actually fight this authoritarian regime. How do we fight back?
We do
Through our most powerful tool, you. That's why in these final days, I'm asking you to knock on as many doors as you can. And what's that? For our out-of-state friends, we're asking you to make as many phone calls as possible. You have the power to set the record straight. These next few days are going to be a fight, but it's one worth having, and one we can win together.
Oh, it's very interesting. Very, very. Oh, actually, that's.
Wake that ass up in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Just Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building. He's running for mayor of New York City. We have Zohran Kwame Mamdani.
Nailed it.
Hey,
Nailed it.
There we go. There we go.
That's that.
You gave him a great tutorial right before we started.
Absolutely. And I'll take it.
If you don't know, ask.
That's right. That's what I do.
I was going to say it was off the top of the dome, but
Now, I did see your video. Before we get into politics, I did see your video. You were a rapper.
You got a bop. You got a bop on your hand.
I was an aspiring rapper.
Aspiring rapper.
Nobody will vote for you based off what I heard in that rap. Okay?
And that's why I'm not a rapper anymore.
Based off the quality of that rap, nobody will vote for you.
To be the mayor, you have to know what you know and know what you don't know.
Got you.
And I learned quickly what I didn't know.
Oh, he's a landmark, eh? He's a landmark boy.
There was a point. I mean, it was at the level. So I was born in Kampala, Uganda, in East Africa. And there was a point where there was a guy I grew up with. He's like my brother. The two of us were rapping together. And I was trying to sell mixtapes on a public bus, which doesn't leave until it fills every single one of the 14 seats. Mm-hmm. That's how much we were trying.
Wow.
And here I am, because it didn't really work out all that well.
It was kind of like Yin Yang Twins, where they were whispering.
I heard them.
I like the beat.
Was there an inspiration for you, the Yin Yang Twins, the whisper song?
I have to say that was an inspiration for the song I made called Nani.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, it was also a way of just telling the different stories of what I grew up with.
Gotcha.
And especially in Kampala, I'm Ugandan of Indian origin. The guy that I grew up with, his name is Abdul. He is Ugandan by way of South Sudan. It's all these different cultures coming together. We were trying to mix it all in. And then when I was here in New York City, just trying to kind of, the song that I made was a testament to my grandmother.
Gotcha.
And how she's a real badass. And how so often when we talk about our elders, we put them in a box of a nice, gentle person who, is very much constrained in how we imagine them. And I wanted to just be a little more absurd in the celebration of a woman who gave me a sense of the world and was a social worker and should be a little more celebrated.
And disciplined you.
Love that.
And disciplined you.
A few
I want
to ask you. I'm asking you to define something, but when you answer it, I want you to think about how you would define it to somebody if you was writing a rap. Like now, I don't want you to rap what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
Look, I know you don't like the raps.
I know you don't like the raps. I'm just saying that the way you would approach a rap, the audience you're trying to talk to, and you would probably keep things on the ground.
This is where I lose the election right here.
How would you define being a democratic socialist? To just somebody that.
So some of my favorite songs they start with an old quote.
Mm-hmm.
That's how a song might begin. And so for me, one of them is from Dr. King. Call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all people in this country, for all of God's children.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, to me, it's about dignity for each person. The person who gave me this language of calling myself a democratic socialist is Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
When he ran in 2016 and his relentless focus on income inequality, it taught me that things could be better than they were. So often when you're voting, it feels like you're voting between somebody who wants to wipe you off the face of the earth and someone else who wants to tell you to celebrate the crumbs that can't feed your neighbors. And to know that it could be more, that you could be voting for something, that has inspired me. And I think that, as a Muslim democratic socialist, I am used to bad PR and having to explain what all of these things mean. And what I've found, though, is when you actually get into a conversation, a lot of this is common sense, right? If I believe that every New Yorker should be able to live a dignified life and that it's city government's job to ensure that, New Yorkers will agree with me when I bring up the example of public education.
Free education,
mm-hmm.
free healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Anything that's necessary, right?
Stabilized rent.
It's like when people, whatever you need to live in this city, that should not be something you can be priced out of. And we agree with that when it comes to school. We agree with that with libraries, with sanitation, with the fire department. But there are certain things we've picked and chosen and said, you know what? You don't need that for housing. Or you know what? You don't need that for food. And I think that we can't let the market determine who gets to live that dignified life. This is not to say that it's city government's job to deal with everything, but for that which is necessary, we have to ensure that we are doing our part. And that's why I have said I'm going to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, because that's the mayor's power.
Mm-hmm.
The last mayor did that 3 times. This mayor raised the rent 9%. He wants to raise it again up to 8%. We have these tools. It's just a question of, do we want to do this? And I know why politicians don't, because there's a lot of pressure. I'm the candidate running to freeze the rent. Cuomo's the candidate running to raise the rent. That's why the landlords of those same units just gave Cuomo $2.5 million. The same landlords that say they don't have enough money to be able to freeze the rent just found $2.5 million to give it to him, the single largest check in this entire race. But it helps let people know that's what's on the ballot. It's straightforward. It's, do you want your rent to be the same, or do you want it to raise?
I saw your rent was $2,300 a month.
Yes, sir. $2,300 for a 1-bedroom in Astoria.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It was 500 square feet.
It's not too much more than that. Let me tell you.
It's interesting, right? Because Democrats have
500 square feet. That's a lot. It's
all this new politically correct language for everything.
Gender,
sexuality, pregnant women.
Sorry,
how come y'all haven't found a better way to discuss socialism? Why is socialism a dirty word when essentially all you want to do is take care of people?
I don't think it should be. I think it's actually a word that when you break down its meaning, like you just have done, is one that many Americans agree with. And we've seen that despite all the attempts, Bernie Sanders continues to be one of the most popular politicians in America. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, similarly. And they have both defined themselves in that same language. And I think it's that...
But I think it's because they tell, more so nowadays, instead of just leaning on the word socialism, they just tell people, you should have free health care. You should have a free education. You should be able to make a livable wage. They should increase the minimum wage. Like, those are just simple concepts that are all socialism.
Yeah.
But for some reason, y'all still find yourselves tripping up over that word, or letting the other side use it as a dirty word.
I think it's because there are a lot of people making a lot of money in this moment who would want Americans to think that that's the only way life can be. And
what is that? It's also all the degeneracy that goes along with socialism. Like, if you remove the degenerate part of it all and kind of made it less degenerate, like acceptant, like of all these issues we can go into, like all the transgender stuff with kids, all this stuff. If you got rid of all that, eliminate all that stuff, it would make it a lot more tangible and a lot more exciting. But right now, it's not that exciting.
I don't hide this. It's how I see the world. It's the world that I want. It's one of dignity. When it comes to school, it's funny. There's this one guy who comments under almost every one of my tweets, and he's like, "He's a socialist." I'm like, "Yeah, it's in my bio." This is who I am, and I think it's about being honest with New Yorkers, because I've found, You know, Mayor Koch said this, that if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 issues, vote for me. 12 out of 12, see a psychiatrist. And I found that in New Yorkers, an ability to say, look, maybe I wouldn't call myself the same word, but I want the same things. And ultimately, you have to have a coalition that asks people of just one thing. We need to make the city affordable. We can have disagreement, we can have tension, but we have to have agreement on that one thing so that we can build a coalition that looks like the city of New York.
Now, sorry, but you are climbing the polls. Like, you just came out of nowhere, right? Why do you think the young people are riding with you?
You know, I
What are
think
those
it's
sunglasses.
It's because people are hungry
Because in the
for...
beginning, they didn't throw your name in the hat at first. It was just...
Look, let me tell you, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Astoria. This is right before we launched the campaign. Somebody in politics showed me a poll. And I was looking at the beginning of the poll, and they were like, no, keep looking. Keep looking. And then I was there at 1%.
Damn.
They were like...
That's what you said.
Right.
Yeah.
How'd you make the poll rise?
Pause.
You know, I think just by being consistent.
Yeah.
You know, from the beginning of the race, from October 23rd, the first day, I said this was a campaign about affordability. I said this was a campaign about New Yorkers who have built this city, who are being pushed out of this city. And I said that I was going to do three things. I was going to freeze the rent. I was going to make the slowest buses in America fast and free. I was going to deliver universal childcare. And it got to the point where I can go to a rally and I can say, I'm going to freeze and the crowd will say rent. Buses fast and free. Universal childcare. People know. And I think for too long, politics has become about a person as opposed to a platform. And New Yorkers see themselves in that. And, you know, growing up in this city, so many of the people that have helped to raise me, that I've grown up with, they haven't always seen themselves in our politics. They have, you know, they haven't voted in a lot of these elections. The last mayoral primary, 26% of Democrats voted. And most New Yorkers, when you ask them, when's the election? They'll tell you it's in November, not in June. Most people don't know about the importance of the primary. But I've been getting text messages from people that I've known for years and people that I've just met, just screenshots of voter registration, that I'm going to vote for the first time. Wow. And that's meant the world to me, because if we really want to protect our democracy, one of the best ways of doing so is that people see themselves in it. People see themselves as participants. You can't protect it at an intellectual level. You have to protect it at an everyday level. And ultimately, going back to your question about democratic socialism, it's about extending that democracy from the ballot box to the rest of our lives. If you get to choose your own leaders, why shouldn't you be able to choose the economic conditions that you're living in? Why shouldn't you be able to ensure you have that dignity? And I think that what's so exciting is, as you said, a lot of this is powered by young people. You know, young people who so often political analysts will say, don't worry about them. They don't vote at the same rates. They don't come out. And it's been so exciting to see those same young people be part of the 34,000 volunteers we have. You know, it took us months to knock 150,000 doors in this city. Last week, we knocked that in 7 days alone.
Wow.
That's the level of momentum we're
incredible.
At, where people are just going all across the city. And my mother is one of these canvassers. Yeah. She has her weekly canvassing shift on Sunday. She's paired up with a 25-year-old who she complains walks too fast. They go up 6th floor walk up, and she goes through 10 consecutive not doors, not homes. And then when she finally meets a voter and they say they're going to vote for me, she says, "That's my son." And it's that sense of everyone is a part of this.
But if they say they're not,
she don't even tell them. She don't tell them. She don't tell them. She's like, you know, I have my concerns as well.
But let me ask you, you know, if you were the mayor and you see what's going on in L.A., how would you handle that problem? If there was protesters, they were, you know, breaking stuff, looting, smashing police cars, vandalizing things. Of course, Trump sending the troops. How would you handle that if you were mayor of New York City and that actually happened here?
I think first and foremost, you call it what it is. It's authoritarianism. This is the Trump administration looking to arrest enough migrants that they can say they fulfilled their campaign promise of building the single largest deportation force in American history. And too often we think about it as just an attack on immigrants. It's an attack on the fabric of this country. And it's not just in L.A. I mean, we have New Yorkers who have been arrested and detained today. You know, a few days ago marked 3 months since a Palestinian New Yorker named Mahmoud Khalil was arrested in his apartment building lobby, taken away from his pregnant wife, Noor, and has since been in an ICE detention facility in Louisiana. It wasn't able to even witness the birth of his first child, Dean. And we have another New York City public high school student.
Don't do terrorism
Dylan,
then, eh?
who was snatched at a regular...
Don't do terrorism, and you won't be taken away from your family. It's not that hard.
Check-in at Federal Plaza is now hundreds of miles away from his mother and his 2 siblings. And this is personal for me because I got my citizenship just blocks from where those arrests are happening. Those blocks used to be my favorite part of New York City. It's where I got my citizenship, where I got married. And those are now the same blocks where, when I took my father for his immigration interview this year, I hugged him so tight because I didn't know if I was going to see him in the afternoon. There are too many New Yorkers who are feeling that. And so I think you call this what it is. You also make clear that Trump is reversing historical precedent in that calling the National Guard is typically something a governor requests of the president. It's not something a president puts on a governor. And Kathy Hochul is someone who, as the governor of our state, has been able to fight Donald Trump and defend a lot of his potential attacks on this state. One of the first things I would do is work with her to make it clear that this has no room in our city. And our police force should not be assisting ICE in what they are conducting. You know, we recently saw arrests where the NYPD was then arresting a pastor and other New Yorkers who were observing ICE arresting migrants coming in for their check-ins. We don't need to be accomplices to authoritarianism. We need to show that there's another way of running this city and this country, and that's who I'm excited to be.
Could you explain to people why federal overreach is dangerous?
I wish I like how he's approached the question, because it's easy for him to do it this way, so he can actually get what he wants. But he said, all the looting and the rioting and stuff. How did you stop that? He just ignored all that. So it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, it's fine that happened, which I don't really like to hear. I want to hear answers for both.
Oh, it's so funny to see Republicans for whom so long their rallying cry has been states' rights. And now here they are. They don't have a concern for that at all. It's the same way that they used to care about free speech. That's gone as well. Ultimately, these are principles they only hold when are convenient to them. And what's so dangerous about this is that we have a clear delineation of what is a federal responsibility, what is a state responsibility, but Donald Trump wants to make every responsibility his. He wants to run a country in a manner that is more befitting of an authoritarian state. And I think what's so concerning is he's looking at the example of someone like Nayib Bukele and saying that this style of leadership, of having mass prisons where we send so many people who we allege are criminals.
I do like his suit and his tie.
Criminals, no matter whether we can find it or not.
That's El Salvador.
Yeah, that's what he wants to bring to this country. And I think what we need are Democrats who are willing to stand up and fight that. You know, we have a mayor right now who has wanted to fearmonger around sanctuary city policy. This is a policy we've had in this city for decades. It's a policy that's been defended by Republicans and Democrats alike. It allows for the city to work with the federal government if someone is convicted on 170 serious crimes. What it says, however, is outside of those, there should not be that collaboration. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, you've heard of Kilmar, the man in Maryland, who was taken to El Salvador. If the city he was arrested in by ICE had sanctuary city laws, he would not have been able to be picked up. That's what we're preventing from happening. And still, with what we have in place, because we have a mayor who doesn't want to enforce it, because we have a mayor who wants to collaborate, still we see New Yorkers being picked up.
Let me ask you a question, right? Why is Donald Trump the Democrats' boogeyman? Because none of y'all are running against Trump. And to me, the biggest hurdle to the Democratic Party is the Democratic Party. The inaction of the Democratic Party over all of these years is the biggest hurdle for the Democratic Party now.
I don't disagree with you. That's part of my critique of Andrew Cuomo, is that he's the very kind of leadership that helped give rise to Donald Trump. You know, before Donald Trump was the president of this country, before he was a reality TV show host, he was a real estate developer in New York City. And he was someone who both parties had room for and time for. And I think that our ability to accommodate the very kind of real estate developers that have broken law after law after law is also part of what has given rise to an era of politics with no accountability. I mean, Andrew Cuomo had a video of Donald Trump playing at his own bachelor party. Like, that's the level in which all of this is enmeshed together. And I'm trying to chart a new course with this campaign alongside thousands of New Yorkers for a politics that is clearly distinct from that of Donald Trump. And I think when New Yorkers are shocked at Donald Trump's record of cutting Medicaid, of trying to steal hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA, of giving tax breaks to billionaires, of hounding the many women who have credibly come forward to accuse him, those are the same things you could say about Andrew Cuomo. We don't need a reflection of that in New York City. We need someone who is the opposite of that. And as a progressive Muslim immigrant who's willing to fight for the things I believe in, that's what makes me Donald Trump's worst nightmare.
But I saw you say that in the debate. You know, you would be Trump's worst nightmare. But once again, why should that matter to anybody voting for you now? Because you're not running against Donald Trump.
No, but you are running against the authoritarianism that he's bringing to this city.
So you think Cuomo's an authoritarian?
No, I think that there's too many commonalities between him and Donald Trump's record. And my point is that you don't want to have a mayor who has to pick up a phone call from someone who cut a $250,000 check to both him and Donald Trump. You want to have a mayor who's willing to fight for the city and have that be the thing that he's ultimately responsible for. And I think to your point, we also have to be honest about how we lost this presidential election. You know, New York is the state that had the largest swing in the country towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points. And
quickly, I don't like the candle being there. It's not good for you. You guys should remove the candle immediately.
It happened far from the caricature of Trump voters. It happened in the hearts of immigrant New York City. I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx. I went to Hillside Avenue in Queens. And when I asked New Yorkers there, almost all of whom were Democrats, who did you vote for and why? Many told me they didn't vote. Many told me they voted for Trump. And they
It's because people don't pay cost of living in America, especially in New York City. The cost of living there is ridiculous. Like people aren't going to want to pay for cost of living there.
told me they voted for him because they remembered having more money in their pocket 4 years ago for their rent, for their child care, for their groceries, even for their Metro card.
They remember how they feel. Yeah.
And as insincere and ridiculous and horrific as we know Trump's policies to be, that is how people felt. Those are the decisions that they made. And when I asked these same New Yorkers, what would it take to bring you back to the Democratic Party? They said a relentless focus on an economic agenda. I said, what would you say to a candidate running to freeze the rent, make buses fast and free, deliver universal child care? I said, I'd vote for him. And that's when I introduced myself. And that's my point here is that there are some Democrats like Andrew Cuomo who think that we went too far left in how we ran a campaign. And my point is that we actually betrayed working class voters a long time ago. And it's time to own up to that and finally fulfill the promises that were made decades ago.
Well, that's interesting, right? Because, you say Cuomo and Trump have so many similarities, but Cuomo has been a career Democrat. And that's why I feel like anybody who is going to be the future of the Democratic Party, you do have to throw that old regime under the bus. Because it's not just Cuomo.
But that bus is going to be free.
Oh, sure. but it's not just Cuomo in the Democratic Party. It's a lot of old leadership.
Absolutely.
It's the Chuck Schumers. It's the Bidens. You got to throw all of that under the bus and run it over. And people have to hear you say that because I keep hearing y'all, you keep talking about Trump.
No, but
your party has been just as ineffective and just as corrupt in a lot of ways.
Trust me, I hear you because I've been critical about the style of leadership that gave rise to Donald Trump. Is also a style of leadership within the Democratic Party. And I think for too long it's been a party that has valued insider politics, pay your dues, the words and advice of consultants over the people that are Democrats themselves. And I do think it's time for a new generation of leadership. Cuomo would be the oldest mayor elected in New York City. I would represent a completely new generation. And I think it's important for that because it's not just about age. It's not just about vision. It's also about what has your record been and who have you been fighting for? And is that distinct enough from what got us here?
Yeah, I just got a couple more questions. You said de Blasio was the best mayor in your lifetime for New York. And you gave 3 reasons. You said because he ended stop and frisk. Well, yeah, he ran on ending stop and frisk, taxing the rich, and funding universal pre-K. You said he got a lot of that done. How much of it did he get done?
Universal pre-K, I think, is one of the most shining examples of what city government can do. Right? This is something that took tens of thousands of dollars off New York families' backs and made it easier to raise a family here. I'm tired of hearing New Yorkers tell me that they're going to settle down, and I know that the next sentence is going to include the words Long Island or the suburbs.
You got a good point. Charlemagne says, you got to remember, if you're going to run, it can't just always be this anti-Trump thing. It has to be, someone has to be their own person. Like, if every person going is like, their whole purpose is just to be the anti-Trump, then you're never going to be successful in that mindset. And then Democrats really let go of this whole Donald Trump obsession.
Because they just can't make it work in the 5 boroughs. Part of making it work is making it easier to have childcare. Today, the average cost of childcare is $25,000 a year. That's more money than it costs to send that same kid to CUNY 18 years later.
In YouTube.
Those, I think, are accomplishments. Now, it's not to say that there is no critique of that time in office. I mean, I'm somebody who was on a 15-day hunger strike alongside thousands of working-class taxi drivers fighting that same administration for debt relief. And we were able to come to an agreement where we won $450 million in debt relief for those taxi drivers. And ultimately, I say this, though, because we have seen what's possible if we have someone focused on delivering it. And to me, the greatest mayor in New York City history is Fiorello LaGuardia, because he was someone who transformed our sense of the possible, and he put working people at the heart of his politics, and he did so while also confronting this rise in anti-immigrant hate all at the same time. And I think we need a mayor who has that ability to fight multiple crises at the same time and show what it means to be a New Yorker.
You said if you're elected mayor, Israel wouldn't let you in. And you mentioned some legislation, but would that legislation apply to you if you're actually mayor?
We've seen elected officials, even Congress people of this country, not be allowed into the state of Israel. And my point was, I've been asked this question many times, and I've said directly that I believe one need not visit Israel to stand up for Jewish New Yorkers. What I need to do is to meet Jewish New Yorkers at their synagogues, at their temples, at their homes, subway platforms, parks, wherever they may be, to hear their concerns and actually deliver on those concerns. And then when I have been asked about this, what I've also said is that even if I was going to make that trip, there is legislation that does not allow anyone who supports a nonviolent movement calling for the compliance of the Israeli government with international law to be allowed into that state. And I say that to say that there has to be a greater recognition of what is going on. And the fact is, for me, my politics come back from a politics of the universal. I believe that freedom and justice and safety, liberty, these things have to apply to everyone for them to be meaningful. And that also includes Palestinians.
Why does it often seem like elected officials care about what's going on in other countries more than they care about what's happening here in America? Because, you do realize it's hard to think about starving kids somewhere else.
I do like the idea of him
my
saying
focus is right here in New York
non-violent.
City. This is a question that's been asked of me time and time again. And ultimately, I think it's actually a question that, as you're saying, is not actually in line with the top concerns of New Yorkers, not even in line with the top concerns of Jewish New Yorkers. You know, when you see in a poll, what are those top concerns? The number one is affordability. After that, it's childcare, it's elder care, it's discrimination. These are all New York City issues. And I think that we need to have a mayor who is focused on New York City. And that's why when I was asked in the debate, where's your first trip abroad going to be? I said, I'm going to be here in New York City. And then I was asked, followed up, are you going to go to Israel? And I said, one need not go to Israel to stand up for Jewish New Yorkers. And then I was asked, it just continues. But for me, the focus has to be the 5 boroughs. I mean, you are running to be the mayor of this city. This is a city that is losing hundreds of thousands of people in the last few years alone because they can't afford it. They're going to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere their dollar can go a little further. And we know that, as the saying goes, when white America catches a cold, black America catches pneumonia.
Oh, so you
that
guys do like him.
inequality is compounded for black New Yorkers. We lost 200,000 black New Yorkers in 2 decades. About 9% of the city's population of black New Yorkers. From 2010 to 2019, nearly 20% of black children and teenagers had to leave the city.
Wow.
And that is a crisis that has to be focused on. That would be at the heart of what my administration would do.
Yeah, I don't understand why conversations about affordability, free healthcare, making buses free, freezing the rent on rent-stabilized apartments, why is that considered far left?
Come on.
I'm just saying, why is it?
It's common
but
sense.
Why can't y'all message that better? Like, why? Like,
Yeah,
I
why
think you got
can't
to get
they
rid of that
message
word
that?
socialism. My man Killer Mike used to tell Bernie Sanders to use the term compassionate capitalism. Or maybe just talk about what it is you want to do constantly instead of getting caught up in those labels.
I kind of understand Charlemagne's point here. It is true. There is because of the dark history of socialism with communism, and communism, being responsible for the deaths of millions of Orthodox Christians during the Soviet Union era, there's this darkness there. So it could just be something like as simple as compassionate socialism or compassionate capitalism, and kind of flip the switch a little bit. Maybe potentially could be a good idea. It's going to be different.
I think it's both important to tell people where this belief comes from, but what I always foreground is what this belief will mean for someone. People want to know, how are you going to help them in their life, in their struggle? The reason we focused this entire campaign on affordability is that's what New Yorkers told us. When you ask them, what are you struggling with? They'll tell you rent. They'll tell you childcare. They'll even tell you public transit, because I know to many people, $2.90 doesn't feel like a lot. 1 in 5 New Yorkers cannot afford a Metro card. That's the state of inequality in this city. While income inequality has declined in the country, it's increased in New York City. This is the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And so, to what you're saying, these are common sense policies. And also when they're polled, they even sometimes have supportive majority of Republicans because they speak to what people are actually going through.
That's it. All people want is some more money in their pocket, and they want to feel safe. Look, that's it.
Well, if they want to support you, how can they go out and support you?
Well, what I would tell them is come to ZohranForNYC.com. Don't donate to us. We've already raised the maximum we can spend in this campaign, but do give us something more valuable, which is your time. We're building a team of 34,000 people, New Yorkers from all walks of life, knocking on doors, talking to their neighbors.
Let's keep going
Come on
with
out,
that one
canvas. It'll
page
be a joy to have you.
More information on Zohran. What's this?
I love New York. I love it because it is, for a kid who grew up watching, 80s TV and 90s movies.
I don't want to watch Sky News, actually. Let's look at more Zohran. Oh, what's this?
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zohran Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they moved to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. He's, we're going to look at everything, but
here illegally.
And ideally. He's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said, we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism. And you got a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and raving about how wonderful he is. And look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city.
I really don't like the hats.
But you would think that a Republican would be able to win, or you have a good independent running, Adams, who's a very good person.
If you agree,
I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in.
Oh, enough of this. I want to hear more about.
Zohran Mamdani is now the declared winner of the Democratic primary for New York City mayor. The city's Board of Elections released the final numbers today, and they show that Mamdani with a significant lead over former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Mamdani, who is a state assemblyman from Queens, won with a commanding 56% over Cuomo's 44%. He now heads into the general election with a tremendous amount of momentum as he goes up against current Mayor Eric Adams. Eyewitness News reporter Stefan Kim is live at City Hall with the very latest. Stefan.
Well, Liz, there was never any doubt that Zohran Mamdani would be the Democratic nominee for mayor. The question was, after ranked choice voting, how wide would his margin of victory be? Meanwhile, President Trump is also paying attention to this race in Florida today. He had New York on his mind.
The Democratic nominee for the city of New York, Zohran Mamdani!
The full results of ranked choice voting results are now in, and it shows Assembly member Zohran Mamdani clobbering Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary race for mayor. After just 3 rounds, Mamdani holds a 12-point lead, 56 to 44%. It was the most votes cast in a mayoral primary since 1989. Mamdani receiving twice as many votes from other candidates than the former governor.
Last Tuesday, Democrats spoke in a clear voice, delivering a mandate for an affordable city, a politics of the future, and
you don't like him, Maria? Is that with? Yeah, I just want to know. Do you don't like? Zohran Mamdani, and why? Why don't you like
Stand up to rising authoritarianism.
The former governor is on a third-party line, but hasn't decided if he will mount a general election campaign. He says he is still weighing his options, and through a spokesperson, took a shot at Mamdani. Extremism, division, and empty promises, his statement says, are not the answer to this city's problems. And while this was a look at what motivates a slice of our primary electorate, it does not represent the majority.
Corruption, sexual harassment, and abuse are not the answers to the city's problems. Andrew Cuomo is in the past.
Can't hear my voice, too
City
silent?
Comptroller and
Oh, damn.
Mamdani endorsed each other, hoping that together they could have enough to beat Cuomo.
Okay, one
Mayor
second, let me
Adams,
see if I
though,
can fix
will
it.
be facing Mamdani in the general election. At a public safety announcement today, he pulled no punches.
Experience over
Is it better now?
experiment. That's where we are right now. And when anyone that wants...
Let me just pause this so I can actually do a sound check.
And when anyone that wants...
Let me just pause this so I can actually do a sound check.
to defund the police based on their own words. Right now, we should not be doing an experiment.
Meanwhile, in Florida today, President Trump, when asked what would happen if Mamdani interfered with ICE as mayor, had this to say.
We'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation.
Anyone
On behalf of
that
the nation.
is an elected or not should never interfere.
I wonder if
with
they actually think he's
federal
a...
authorities
They
carrying
generally
out
think
their
he's
function.
a communist.
Now, moments ago, Mamdani just responded to the president in a statement which reads in part, quote, "The president of the United States just threatened to have me arrested, stripped of my citizenship, and put in a detention camp and deported, not because I've broken any law, but because I refuse to let ICE terrorize our city." It goes on to say, "We will not accept this intimidation." The president, meanwhile, went on to heap praise on the Mayor Adams, saying, quote, "He's a good independent and a very good person." The mayor was asked repeatedly if he would accept an endorsement from the president. That's coming up tonight at 6. Reporting live at City Hall, Stefan Kim, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Damn. That's very, very interesting. Is there anything that's more recent?
In the meantime, Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani scores a huge win over Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary, widening the gap after the results of ranked choice voting were officially computed by the Board of Elections.
Political reporter Marcia Kramer is here with more. Marcia.
Well, Dick and Jess, this could be one of the most unusual elections the city has ever seen, because the charismatic 33-year-old will not only have to face off against a sitting mayor running as an independent and a slew of others who are hoping to offer a choice to his left-of-center politics, but a president who is dead set against him.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
A stunning remark from President Trump about the winner of the Democratic mayoral primary after a reporter told him that Zohran Mamdani threatened to defy ICE and provoked this response from Mamdani on social media. Quote, "His statements don't just represent an attack on our democracy, but an attempt to send a message to every New Yorker who refuses to hide in the shadows. If you speak up, they will come for you." On the very day that Zohran Mamdani officially won the Democratic mayoral primary with a 12-point, 56-44 win over Andrew Cuomo, he got a welcome to the wacky world of the 2025 mayoral race from President Trump, who said he hoped a Republican could beat him, or maybe the sitting mayor.
We have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person.
At an unrelated press conference on crime stats, Mayor Adams ducked questions about Trump, preferring to focus on the role of the mayor to let federal immigration agents do their job.
And anyone that is an elected or not should never interfere with federal authorities carrying out their function.
Mamdani said he was humbled by the breadth of his support. Over 540,000 New Yorkers voted for him, saying he is, quote, "excited to expand this coalition even further as we defeat Eric Adams and win a city government that puts working people first." Andrew Cuomo is holding his cards close to the vest about whether he will actively campaign on the independent line he has secured. A spokesman said he wants to assess the feelings of more than 1 million independent voters voters who will be able to have a say in the general election. Extremism, division, and empty promises are not the answer to the city's problems. While this was a look at what motivates a slice of our primary electorate, it does not represent the majority, said a Cuomo spokesman. This as another independent entered the race, Cuban-American biotech engineer Joseph Hernandez, who took a shot at Mamdani's socialist platform.
I was born in Cuba, a country where socialism destroyed opportunity. My family lost everything.
I cannot predict what's going to happen in November except one thing. New Yorkers are energized. New Yorkers are focused, and they're going to come in larger numbers than we've seen before.
So here's the scorecard for November. Mamdani, the Democrat. Curtis Sliwa, the Republican. Adams on the independent line. Independents Joseph Hernandez, Jim Walden, and Andrew Cuomo. The unknown factor, will Cuomo actively campaign? And if so, what will that do to the race?
It's quite the scorecard.
It's a big scorecard.
Thank you, Marsha.
Thanks, Marsha.
Interesting perspective from the Cuban guy. I didn't realize the Cuban guy was so heavily involved.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward.
By the way, that's, again, perfect response and also an incredibly popular position. Let me tell you something, okay? Mamdani mania has overtaken the world, overtaken the United States of America. But also, the more he reaches new levels of prominence and popularity, the more people get racist and insane about his existence in general. People are pissed off that he was eating with his hands. People are frustrated that, people are mostly just frustrated that he's a brown guy. That's what it is, honestly.
And joining me now is Zohran Mamdani. Mr. Mamdani, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. There is so much to discuss. We have to start with your remarkable victory in the primary for mayor. You're 33 years old. As I just said,
He's very young.
You started out at close to 0%
very young.
in the polls, Mr.
Good on him.
Mamdani. You came back to topple one of the biggest names in New York politics, Andrew Cuomo. What was the secret to your success? Do you think it was your message? Do you think that voters were voting?
This is good. This is positive. I'm happy that they are directly asking what contributed to his success. Overall, there's a lot of people taking credit over what caused him to win. And these are mostly like the DC consultant class that is running their mouths and claiming that the reason why Zohran won is because it's not because of his policies, but, because he actually was on board with the abundance mindset, or the reason why Zohran won is because he had a joyful campaign, or because he did social media. No, those are all, especially social media, played a big role in this, but very obviously a major part of his victory was his policies and his massive turnout machine. Zohran Mamdani had 50,000 door knockers, dude. Are you kidding me? That's like a percentage of the overall vote. That's significant. That is incredibly significant. Here is me jokingly responding to Donald. You guys met him already.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go to bed. Good night, and thank you for tuning in. And if you like this, make sure you follow me. I stream every day, so keep up